In 1957 in Colorado, Hope makes a call on a payphone in Camp Alpine Lake. She explains she found the number carved in the ice in her strange dreams. When she tries to ask the identity of the person talking to her, all she can hear is static. The noise suddenly becomes high-pitched and she hangs up. In 1982 in Denver, Finney is beating up a new kid who keeps asking for mercy. Finney doesn't stop until his sister Gwen yells at him. Afterward, Gwen asks Finney what happened, so Finney claims the other kid started it. It turns out Finney has gained a tough reputation after defeating a serial killer known as the Grabber 4 years ago. At that moment, they're approached by Ernie, the brother of one of the Grabber's victims. He invites Gwen to go to a concert with him and she agrees. That night, Finney can't sleep so he goes to smoke outside. He keeps remembering the traumatizing incident he went through and imagines the Grabber standing in his backyard. Gwen tries to check on him, but Finney refuses to talk about it. In Camp Alpine Lake, Felix arrives with other children hoping to have lots of fun. However, he ends up running through the forest when the Grabber starts chasing after him. Felix accidentally falls and the Grabber uses the chance to kill him by cutting his body open with a knife. Felix is then dumped into the lake and he scratches the letter W into the ice. At that moment, Gwen wakes up, revealing that it was a dream she had. As a phone rings, Gwen opens the front door and thinks she sees something strange across the street. She's snapped out of it by Finney, who says she's been sleepwalking again. Gwen tries to tell her that she had a bad dream, but he only sends her back to bed. The next day, Gwen does some research about supernatural events in the school library, and other girls mock her by calling her a witch. When Ernie comes by to bring the concert tickets, he says it's cool that Gwen believes in spooky stuff and shows her the tarot cards that his grandmother sells in her shop. Ernie knows that Gwen's dreams helped find the bodies of the Grabber's victims and Gwen feels uncomfortable by the topic, but Ernie assures her that he likes weird. After school, Finney goes to the store and hears a pay phone ringing. He picks it up and says, "Sorry, I can't help you," before quickly hanging up. It's then revealed that the phone is out of order. In Camp Alpine Lake, Cal joins most of the activities and makes lots of friends. One night in the forest, he's chased by the Grabber, who easily captures him and chops his body up with an axe. Some body parts are burned down while the rest are thrown in the lake. Cal's ghost scratches the letter B into the ice next to the W. Then Gwen is woken up by a phone ringing, confirming that it was another nightmare. She goes outside and is shocked to find Cal's body in the yard. Confused and distressed, Gwen rides her bicycle to the Grabber's old house and uses a small window to enter the cellar. There's a black phone here, and when she answers it, she hears Hope's voice in the past, matching the flashback from the beginning. Gwen realizes that Hope had the same dreams as she has, but instead of letters, the boys carved numbers. She wants to know more, but soon static takes over the call and it cuts off. When Gwen turns around, she's shocked to see the ghost of the Grabber's brother. He says she shouldn't be there as the cellar door opens and the phone starts ringing. Someone comes down the stairs, but it's just Finney, who came looking for his sister. Gwen tells him about talking to Hope, who turns out to be their mother in her young days. Finney thinks it was just a dream and spits on the ground before they leave. The next day, Gwen finds a pamphlet for Camp Alpine Lake and says they should become counselors so they can investigate the place, but Finney refuses. Their father Terrence overhears them and recognizes Camp Alpine Lake as a place his wife used to work at. He also mentions that it closed in 1958 and that he doesn't like the idea of Christian camps. Later, Gwen convinces Ernie to go to the camp with her. Finney doesn't like Ernie, so he decides to come along to protect her. After a few hours of driving, they reach an area covered in snow and see many accidents on the road. Eventually, it's impossible to see the road ahead, so Finney tells Ernie to stop the car. He'll run in front of them to keep an eye on the road, and the car only has to follow him. Moments later, they're found by Mustang, who guides them to the camp using a flashlight. At the camp, the trio meets Mustang's uncle Armando, who is also the manager. He explains that the kids won't come tomorrow because they won't plow the roads until the storm passes. On their way to the cabin, Finney sees a payphone. Gwen is sent to the girls' room and Finney and Ernie go to the boys' dorm. They're both empty because nobody came except for the staff. Gwen quickly falls asleep and has another nightmare about the past. Spike was part of the camp band and he also got killed. In the ice, he adds the letter H next to the others before his face splits in half. At that moment, Gwen wakes up and hears some scraping noises under the neighboring bed. Outside, Finney is smoking when he hears the pay phone ringing. He starts walking toward it and the ringing stops, but when he walks away, it restarts. This time, he manages to reach the phone and answer, "I can't help you," before hanging up. However, the phone rings again and when Finney tries to leave, the ringing gets worse. He answers it again and hears static, followed by the grabber saying, "Hello, Finney." The boy immediately hangs up, but the booth door closes and he can't open it no matter how many times he kicks it. The phone rings again and Finney kicks it too, causing the handset to fall. The grabber's voice then says that hell is not flames, it's ice, because nothing burns like the cold. Back in the bedroom, Gwen decides to check under the bed and is horrified to find Felix. She quickly steps away, only to be touched by Cal, whose hand burns her arm. A terrified Gwen tries to walk away as the boys come closer and sees Spike approaching the window to open it. Someone else appears behind him and breaks the window to make it fall, which cuts Spike's face in half. As Gwen screams, the phone booth door finally opens. Finney runs to the girl's bedroom and wakes Gwen up. She has a breakdown and says she's going crazy, so Finney tries his best to comfort her. After taking care of the burn mark, Gwen refuses to sleep alone and joins Ernie in his bed. She still can't sleep and asks Jesus to protect her from nightmares. Ernie overhears and they talk about religion, bonding over the fact that they both come from very devout families. Gwen explains her mother also had strange dreams and it drove her crazy, so she's scared the same thing will happen to her. Ernie comforts her and the duo almost kiss, but Finney interrupts them and makes them sleep. In the morning, Finney gets angry with Gwen because she told Ernie everything that has been going on. Gwen points out that they need help and shows him the burn mark on her arm that proves they aren't just dreams. During breakfast, Armando scolds Gwen for sleeping in the boys' dorm and asks the trio why they came, because he doesn't believe that they want to be counselors. The siblings show him a picture of Hope and Antonio immediately recognizes her as a counselor. He remembers her fondly and is very upset when he hears that she self-deleted 7 years ago. Armando tells the kids to call their families to confirm they're fine and to use the office phone. When Finney mentions the payphone outside, Armando says it hasn't worked in over a decade. After Armando leaves, Finney tells the others that the phone rang last night and that he heard the grabber. Suddenly the payphone starts ringing, so Finney runs to answer it. There's some static followed by a boy's voice saying that it's cold and that they aren't supposed to be there. The three ghosts appear around the booth as the boy on the phone keeps asking for help. Finney can't see them and keeps asking for details, but the boys don't remember much. The ghosts start pounding on the booth and they only disappear when Finney hangs up. Later, Terrence gets a call from Gwen confirming they're okay. However, he still worries about the blizzard, so he calls a friend to borrow a snowplow. Meanwhile, Gwen and Ernie meet staff members Kenneth and Barbara, Beep, and ask them if they have any books about the history of the camp. Kenneth gently explains they only have the brochures, but Barbara is very rude and judgmental because Gwen slept with the boys and curses a lot. When the duo asks about the 3 dead boys from years ago, Barbara says good Christian people don't discuss such horrible matters. Gwen and Barbara start arguing, so Kenneth asks the kids to leave the office. That night, Gwen dreams about Hope answering the phone. She also talks to the 3 dead boys who ask for help. Felix's ghost is near the forest and Gwen tries to follow him, but he disappears when red feathers start falling from the sky. Gwen looks down and sees Felix's jacket on the ground while Spike watches nearby. An axe falls on a tree trunk and blood starts coming out of it. A strange noise makes Gwen wake up and she sees the dorm door being slammed. For a second, she also sees her mother staring at her. Gwen goes outside and finds Felix, so she starts following him. At the same time, Finney is awakened by the phone ringing. He wakes Ernie up and tells him to protect his sister while he answers the call. Gwen sees both boys but chooses to continue following Felix. Finney hears the grabber's voice on the phone but doesn't see his ghost near the booth. The grabber explains he's returned to get revenge by destroying everything Finney loves since the kid made the grabber kill his own brother. Ernie reaches the girls' dorm and finds it empty, so he runs out to ask the staff for help. Felix takes Gwen to the mess hall and she follows a light into the kitchen where the ovens open to reveal huge flames. Some objects fall and the noise alerts the adults to Gwen's location. Suddenly, the grabber's ghost comes out of the shadows and attacks Gwen with an axe, so she does her best to defend herself. The grabber then uses a belt on her legs to make her fall and attacks again, but when Gwen blocks the axe, he tries to choke her instead. The adults and Ernie then burst into the kitchen and see Gwen struggling to breathe on the floor, but they can't see the grabber. Suddenly, her body is thrown against the wall and Finney hears Barbara screaming, so he runs to the cabin. Gwen is thrown on the table and spun in the air before being pushed toward the ovens. Ernie manages to grab her legs to stop her, but when the adults try to help him, objects fly off the shelves to attack them. Mustang dodges them and helps Ernie pull Gwen back. At that moment, Finney arrives, so the grabber lets go of Gwen and disappears into the shadows. After Finney wakes Gwen up, everyone gathers in the chapel and Gwen tells them about the boys she saw in her dreams. Armando recognizes the descriptions, saying he never stopped looking for them. He then shows them a picture of the last year the camp was open. Hope is among the counselors and Finney recognizes the grabber among the staff. A shocked Armando explains that he was a maintenance guy nicknamed Wild Bill Hickok because he wore a belt like a gunslinger. Gwen realizes the initials of Wild Bill Hickok match the letters she saw in her dream and concludes this is where the grabber started to kill. Armando noticed that weird things started to happen in the camp 4 years ago, and Finney points out that's when he killed the grabber, meaning his spirit was set free to come back here. Gwen theorizes that the grabber draws power from the fear of his victims because their spirits aren't at rest, so they need to find the boys' bodies to set them free. The police never searched the lake because it had been frozen at the time of the murders, but Armando remembers that Bill had equipment for ice fishing so he could have cut holes. The group agrees to go to the lake in the morning. Armando goes to his office to get the boys' picture and hears a strange noise. He looks outside and sees a snowman, but he thinks it was made by Mustang. At that moment, his radio starts playing static followed by the grabber's voice saying, "You made me kill my brother." Armando tells him that he can't keep the boys forever and the lights go out. After he grabs a flashlight, he hears a thud and turns around to find the grabber's mask made of blood and snow on the window. The voice on the radio says, "I want to hurt you," and Armando responds that they'll get the boys back, calling the voice Bill. The grabber angrily says that it isn't his name and pounds on the window before disappearing. In the morning, the group searches the entire lake, but sadly they find nothing. In the evening, Finney and Ernie tell Gwen that they'll take turns keeping an eye on her while she sleeps in case she has another nightmare. Then Gwen starts dreaming of a paperboy named Billy. While he's working, the grabber kidnaps him in his black van, revealing that this was his first victim in town. This memory is seen by Hope in her dreams and she recognizes the grabber as Wild Bill from camp. In the real world, Gwen starts sleepwalking, but Ernie sends her back to bed. The dream continues and Gwen watches Hope leave the bed. She follows her mother to the grabber's house where Hope finds a kid inside the cellar. She tries to leave to call the police but the young grabber captures her and pulls her into his van. Ghost Grabber also appears and makes Gwen get in the van too. During the ride, Ghost Grabber tells Gwen that he's brought her as a kindness because he wants her to know the truth before the end. The van stops at Gwen's home and she has to see the body of her mother hanging in the garage. It turns out she didn't self-delete, the grabber killed her and made it look like she did it. Gwen cries as Terrence finds his wife and has a breakdown. When the grabber takes out his axe, Gwen starts running around the house and takes the stairs, only to end up in the grabber's cellar. The black phone starts ringing and Gwen answers it to hear Felix telling her to hide. She rushes to the bathroom and finds a hole in the wall that takes her to a door. Gwen pounds on it but it won't open and the grabber slashes her arm with the axe. This makes her bleed in the real world too. Ernie sees it and warns the others, but they can't wake her up. Eventually, Gwen manages to open the door and comes out to find Felix. He closes the door while she runs to the lake where she hears her friends yelling her name to try to wake her up. Armando is still searching the lake and finally finds Felix's body, so he starts working on breaking the ice. Suddenly the payphone appears near Gwen and rings, so she answers and hears the grabber saying he must defend himself from those who try to take his power. Then the grabber appears behind Armando and starts breaking the ice. Gwen wants to help, but she can't open the booth. The ice breaks and Armando falls into the freezing water. When he tries to climb out, the grabber pushes him down with his foot. As Gwen continues to punch the booth door in the dream, she punches Finney in the real world. The grabber then breaks the glass and grabs the phone cord to start choking Gwen. He also throws her body around and makes it spin like a top, so her body does the same in the bedroom. Blood is spilled all over the place before the boys manage to hold her down. Mustang throws cold water on her face, but it doesn't wake her up either. The group keeps telling Gwen to fight back. I end the dream. Gwen hears their voices on the phone and she concentrates until the booth explodes, which throws the grabber back. Gwen announces that in dreams, she has power too, so she headbutts the grabber before waking up. Afterward, everyone runs to the lake and rescues Armando just in time. He confirms he's found Felix, so the group agrees to come back for the other two boys in the morning. When they return to the camp, they're surprised to see Terrence arrive in the snowplow. Finney is ready to leave with his dad, but Gwen refuses because she wants to end this. An argument ensues and Gwen calls out both guys for ignoring their trauma instead of working on it. She also tells them what really happened to Hope, which convinces them to stay. The group spends the entire next day looking for the other two boys to no avail. Suddenly, Gwen falls asleep and the grabber appears, skating on the lake. Gwen tries to run and falls into the hole, causing her real body to get wet. The grabber hits Kenneth with the axe and drags him across the lake, which happens in the real world too. Kenneth's body hits Barbara and makes her fall, so her face is smashed on the ice. As the grabber continues to slash Barbara and Kenneth with the axe, Gwen sees some barrels underwater. She kicks them off and finally finds the last two bodies inside. The grabber hits the ice around the hole to break it, and the rescue cable falls in as well. Then the grabber makes a jump to put his belt around Finney's neck and starts choking him. Terrence jumps into the water and helps Gwen bring the barrels to the surface while Finney pushes the grabber off. Now Gwen starts praying, which finally sets the boys' souls free. In the dream, the bodies start coming out of the ice and make the grabber trip by grabbing his ankle. Then the three souls block his way and Gwen hits his head with the axe before removing his mask. The grabber freaks out until Finney appears behind him to repeatedly smash his head on the ice. Gwen chops the grabber's leg off to free him from the skeleton's hand, and they throw his body in the lake where he finally dies for good as the three boys push him down. When Gwen wakes up, she kisses Ernie. Later at the camp, Armando calls the boys' families to tell them they've finally found the bodies. Gwen hears the payphone ringing and when she answers it, she hears her mother congratulate her for saving the kids. Hope assures her that the dreams aren't a curse and says that she loves her children before hanging out. Gwen passes the message to Finney and the siblings finally leave with their dad.